Hello and welcome back to the Think Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have a better late than never episode for you. We had to delay a couple days due to illness, but we are getting the episode out for you right before the weekend, so you can know our takes before Saturday. So very exciting stuff. Let's get straight into it with the college football Week 5 recap. Marco, you want to start with number 2 Michigan dominating Nebraska?
Yeah, very solid performance, by far our best of the year. O-line looked completely dominant. D-line looked completely dominant. Our front seven looked like one of the best in the country against a really good run offense. And the run game, very solid. Corum, 4.5 a carry, 74 yards and a touchdown. He looked very solid. Edwards, not great, still not back up to where he was at the end of last year, but he had some okay runs. Still, he definitely needs to clean up. But Khalil Mullings definitely looks like the second best runner on this team. He had that nice touchdown run, and he also just looked like a guy that was really tough to tackle. So I would look to get him maybe even more carries than Edwards. Obviously, Edwards still a better player. Just find other ways to get him the ball. Roman Wilson had that great catch, 2 touchdowns in this game. He's up to 8 on the year, I believe. JJ did what he had to do. Just overall a great performance and our best of the year so far.
Great performance from Michigan this week. I would say, like you said, easily our best performance. Defense looked super dominant. No injuries, and we just got out of the Nebraska with a good win. Moving on, number 10, Utah loses at number 19, Oregon State. This game was a little shocking for me because, I'm not sure if I would say shocking, but I mean, I was just surprised that Utah lost. I thought they were a lot better than that. So them to go down on that Friday night, definitely, especially by the margin they did, 21-7, definitely shocked me a little bit. I mean, they just weren't able to put any points on the board. DJ Uiagalelei didn't have a good game at all. Only 204 yards, a touchdown, and interception. And he won the game. So, I mean, really weird game. 21-7 win for Oregon State. Utah just couldn't put any points on the board. Margo.
Yeah, Cam Rising really makes this Utah offense great. Without him, this team isn't that good. Their defense is solid. However, Oregon State, we already knew they were better in the trenches. And if Utah was trying to win this game with a mobile QB and Nate Johnson who can't throw that well, just trying to win, running the football against Oregon State, you can't do that. Oregon State's a very, very solid team. They just caught a tough matchup with Wazoo a couple weeks ago. But Silas Bolden, that dude is an absolute beast. 6 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty much the reason why they won this game. And just big win for Oregon State, and the Pac-12 is just so stacked. So many good teams. And definitely going to be an exciting year in the Pac-12. And very good win for Oregon State. Tough loss for Utah, but I think once they get Rising back, they will definitely be a competitor in the Pac-12.
I agree that Pac-12 is so deadly right now. And then another Pac-12 matchup, number 8, Utah gets by Colorado in a game that ended up being very close. USC was ahead by quite a bit at the start of the game, but Colorado was able to work their way back. Didn't get an onside kick at the end, which, by the way, was an absolutely horrendous onside kick. Kicker didn't even give his guys a chance. But yeah, Colorado able to scratch their way back. But in the end, USC gets it done 48-41. Caleb Williams, a phenomenal game, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns, and an interception. Just further proving why he's deserving of the back-to-back Heisman title. But Colorado, I was impressed they were able to fight their way back, and even though they're 3-2 right now, I definitely still think they're a very solid team and are looking at a pretty decent bowl game. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, this game was 48-21 USC with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. USC did not score again. That offense completely stalled out. Caleb Williams, definitely a good performance, but once Colorado stopped letting him roll out and find receivers and made him roll out and actually run, he started looking very uncomfortable. He looked like he was trying to force balls downfield, which led to that pick. USC's defense is just arguably the worst in all of Power 5, if I'm going to be honest. They are horrendous. If this team had average defense, I would pick them to win the Natty. they're just that bad defensively. And Morion Miller, another new target here for Colorado. He had 7 receptions, 200 yards, and a touchdown. Shador looked great. And definitely a good moral victory for Colorado, but tough loss. But I think this was more of a moral loss for USC because they showed that their defense will allow teams worse than them to just compete with them whenever they want, simply because they can put up 40 points whenever they want because that defense just is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge problem. I really don't understand it. I mean, how can a top team that's top 10 every year not get a single defensive recruit? But I guess guys don't want to go where there's not already a set in stone good defensive program. Moving on, number 11, Notre Dame just barely beats number 17, Duke. Once again, another close game. 21-14 in this one. Sam Hartman, no touchdowns thrown for him. I mean, this game truly, I mean, it was a super fun game to watch, by the way. If you can watch the replay, you should. But Notre Dame getting a score in the last couple minutes to go take the lead, and Duke just wasn't able to reciprocate. So, and then Notre Dame gets it done. Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame needed a touchdown with 31 seconds left to beat a good Duke team, but this team is not elite at all. I just don't think Notre Dame is at all a playoff contender. A lot of people were saying that after that really close game with Ohio State, but I think Notre Dame is going to sit around this like 8-12 range all year and make a New Year's 6. I don't think that they're going to win out. I think they'll lose to USC, probably lose to someone else. Maybe Louisville. That game will be close this week. But not that impressed with Notre Dame, especially Sam Hartman with a 50% completion percentage. Estime is a dog. By the way, Duke's quarterback, Riley Leonard, he is a great runner. However, he is not a good passer. He went 12 for 27, 134 yards, touchdown, a pick. But Notre Dame probably should have dominated this game, let Duke crawl back. Good win for them, though, and just, yeah, good win for them. Very entertaining game.
Yep, and then moving on, number 1 Georgia struggles against Auburn, but they do get the job done. 27-20. Carson Beck, a mediocre game. 313 yards, touchdown, and interception. Peyton Thorne, the former Michigan State QB for Auburn, did not have a great game by any standard. 10 for 19, 82 yards, 1 interception. Actually, I take that back. He did have 92 yards on the ground, so you can't hate that much. He was killing them with his legs, but Auburn Tigers weren't quite able to get it done. But Georgia with back-to-back weeks where, I mean, they just cannot seem to dominate very not good teams. So, are we seeing the downfall of Georgia? Possibly. I mean, just all the past years, Georgia has seemed untouchable. And this year, Georgia really seems like they're just scraping by with these wins every week. Marco.
Well, the reason why they're scraping by with these wins is because they just can't win the line of scrimmage. The last couple of years, I mean, and same with Bama in the last few years, and now they're struggling. They used to just dominate the line of scrimmage. They would never play down the level of their opponent. Now, I mean, Auburn just outplayed them at the line of scrimmage. Georgia's D-line, front seven, is just not that good because they lost lots of guys in the NFL. And their O-line is just not that good this year. Teams are dominating the front seven, and they're able to push around Georgia, and that's what's leading them into these games. Brock Bowers is probably a top 3 player in all of college football. That dude's an absolute beast. No one can really guard him. But, I mean, the problem with this game was Auburn just couldn't guard Brock Bowers. If they had at least somewhat limited him, they would have won this game with actual ease. But their inability to guard Brock Bowers ended up coming back to bite them. I actually think Auburn probably should have won with the way they played. But good win for Georgia, I guess. I mean, just miserable performance. But, I mean, I just don't think Georgia's really that good of a team this year. I think they're only ranked number 1 because of last year, and I'm definitely excited to see them play an actually decent team in Kentucky this week.
Yeah, one thing I do hate about the AP poll is that it like bases things off like last year and the year before, and I get that they're defending back-to-back national champions right now, but like it should be based on this year and nothing else. So I mean, I just think that's kind of dumb, but it doesn't matter. Last week is the only one matters for the rankings. So next up we have number 22 Florida losing to unranked Kentucky 33-14. Kentucky now moves to 5-0. And I don't know, they're definitely a team to watch for Georgia next week. They I don't know, that's going to be a super interesting one. But yeah, nothing much to say about this one. Kentucky looked actually very good. Florida did not. And Kentucky gets away with dominant one. Margo.
Yeah, Florida's just not that good a team. They beat Tennessee, who's not good, and now they got ranked. The SEC is just so overrated. They're just ranking the teams because they're in the SEC, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Next up, number 13 LSU loses at number 20 Ole Miss in the game of the week, possibly game of the year. These two offenses just could not be stopped. Jane Daniels, 27 for 36, 414 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. LSU ran the ball well. Jackson Dart, 26 for 39, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns. Quinshawn Judkins, one of the best running backs in college football, rushed for 180 yards. And Ole Miss, they were down by 9 late to LSU. They were down by 9 with 6 minutes left in the game. They were able to crawl their way back, and that felt like one of those games whoever got the ball last was probably going to win. Ole Miss ended up scoring with 30 seconds left, and LSU could not quite respond.
Yep, and then moving on, number 7 Washington struggles against Arizona. And this is back-to-back weeks where their defense has not looked very good. Last week, of course, 59-32. I mean, a dominant win for most people's standards. But that 32 really sticks out, and then that 24 against Arizona. So this Washington team, maybe not as good as we thought. I mean, they looked absurdly good against Michigan State. But then again, Michigan State's not a good team at all. In this one, Michael Penix, solid performance like always, 363 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But his team had 4 on the ground, so not a worry there. Offense looked completely fine, but like I said, that defense is definitely something to worry about if you're a Washington fan. Margo?
Yeah, I mean, holding Arizona to 24 points isn't that bad. I mean, Arizona is like a pretty good team. So, I mean, I wouldn't, like, obviously not a good defensive performance, but not awful. Not really bad on offense either. Just Arizona played them pretty tough. And I think that's all I have to say. But definitely a little bit alarming that they played that close with an average team. If they want to be considered a top 5 team, which a lot of people are saying, then I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to our NFL, we are going to skip the recap and just go straight to the predictions. And just so you guys know, next week we'll be having midseason playoff predictions. So yeah, definitely look forward to that. So NFL Week 5 predictions, Panthers at Lions. Mark, I'll take this one. So Panthers, I mean, haven't won a game yet. Lions coming off another great win against Green Bay last week on Thursday night, 34-20. Sorry, we're not doing a recap. Just thought I had to mention that. So I mean, this game, it's honestly just like it's one of those like trap games where you don't underestimate your opponent. You get the job done. Don't hold anything back, and you just win. It's one of the games you just have to win. Don't need to see anything out of us. Just win. Margo?
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers suck. The Lions are pretty good this year, so the Lions are going to comfortably win this game. I don't think it's going to be that close.
All right, moving on. Cowboys at Niners. Mark, you want to take that one?
This is definitely the game of the week. 2 top 3 teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I think the Niners, Cowboys, Eagles, and then you could argue Bills are up there too. I think those are the clear top 4 in the NFL. I think Niners win this game. I mean, Purdy has just done exactly what he has to this year. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. McCaffrey's been unstoppable. Niners receiving core I think is just going to be too good. And I think the Cowboys defense is great. They force a lot of turnovers. I think Purdy plays mistake-free, and they get this job done. But I got Niners 28-24.
Yeah, I mean, super intriguing game here. Cowboys maybe not, or maybe haven't looked like the most consistent team in the NFL, but definitely one of the better teams in the NFL. I mean, they only have one loss, and that was just a really bad game. But the Niners 4-0, number one on my power rankings, and they get the job done here tonight. And then just one more game I want to add in. The Saints at the Patriots, for all of you Patriots fans listening in. I'm actually taking the Patriots in this one. The line is even. I think Mac Jones plays good enough. I mean, he hasn't been great this season. Their offense, or he hasn't been. He's been terrible, or his offense has been terrible at least. 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions is not a ratio you want to be having as an elite NFL quarterback. But if he's able to rein it in, just not throwing interceptions, I think the Patriots can walk away with a win here in an intriguing performance for their offense. Marco.
The problem is our top 4 corners are out, and the guy that was gonna win Defensive Rookie of the Year and Christian Gonzalez is out for the year. We did trade for J.C. Jackson. Maybe Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones can get healthy. I think we're gonna win because the Saints are bad. But I mean, the season is pretty much over, so I mean, I'm not that excited about the Pats right now.
Marco is a tad bit discouraged right about now. Now moving on to college football week 6 upset predictions and predictions. You'll hear our upset predictions sprinkled in throughout or as we go. So we're gonna go pretty quick through the games that we don't care about as much, and then slow it down for the good games. So first off, we have number 2 Michigan at Minnesota. Michigan going to Minnesota for the battle for the brown jug. Honestly, I guess this is a rivalry matchup, but Michigan just needs to keep doing what they're doing. I would like to see Roman Wilson continue to build on his Biletnikoff case, keep getting more touchdowns, maybe rack up a couple more receiving yards, just because I don't know, he hasn't had as many receiving yards as he has touchdowns, so the ratio is a little bit off. Obviously, that doesn't matter that much. I would just like to continue to see him perform after that amazing catch he had last week. Marco.
This game, I think, is going to be a bit of a test for the secondary. Although Minnesota only averages 150 yards passing a game, they do have some really good receivers. They got Daniel Jackson, they got Crooms, they got big tight end Spanford. So let's see if the secondary can. Their quarterback, Cali McManus, probably won't get it to the guys, but maybe watch if the secondary can cover them, even though they probably won't get the ball. This Minnesota team does like to run the ball. I don't think our D-line should have too many problems. And this Minnesota team does not defend the run particularly well. So I think O-line should have pretty easy game here. Their pass defense is okay. I think JJ will do just fine. Give me Michigan 34-13.
Definitely a must prove game for Michigan, I would say. Just dominate and move on to week 7. Next up, we have number 12 Oklahoma at versus number 3 Texas, due to it being a neutral site in the Red River rivalry. One of the biggest games of the year. Every year, blood runs through this rivalry. Just an absolute hatred that's only known to a couple places in college football. Texas 5-point favorite. Who you got, Marco?
Give me Texas. Texas won this game 49-0 last year. Although Dylan Gabriel did not play for Oklahoma, he's not a 49-point difference. Oklahoma is better overall. Their defense just isn't that good. Their pass defense is pretty weak. I think Texas' offense is going to be too much. I do think, though, that Dylan Gabriel will be able to make this a shootout with his receivers. Andrew Anthony, the Michigan transfer, actually catching balls now, unlike he was doing for Michigan. He's actually the leading receiver. But yeah, give me Texas here. Let's say 38-31 Texas.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a super interesting game, but I'm going on the other side of this one. Give me the Sooners. I just think they're going to score literally every possession. I mean, their offense is ridiculously high-powered and explosive. I think Andrel Anthony, Jaleel Farouk, and Nick Anderson are some of the hardest, and Drake Stoops, to be honest, and Jaden Gibson. I mean, they have 5 guys that are having high production seasons so far this year, which is just not something you can say for really any other team in college football. So, I mean, I think Texas doesn't have enough secondary power to keep up with this receiving core. Oklahoma gets it done like 55-52, like ridiculously high game, possibly overtime.
Well, I mean, Oklahoma only scored 20 points on Cincinnati, so I wouldn't say the offense is unstoppable, but definitely a high-powered offense on both sides, so we'll be pretty high scoring.
All right, bud. Moving on, we have Maryland at number 4, Ohio State, and I smell an upset pick. This is my upset pick. Maryland goes to the shoe and takes down the Buckeyes. I am currently 2-3 in upsets this season, looking to go 3-3 with this pick. I think Tua Tagovailoa has proved himself to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football, not just Big Ten, in college football. And this is the second time Ohio State will square off against an elite QB, Notre Dame and Sam Hartman being the other time. And we know what happened that game. I mean, that was a very close game. Ohio State did not look good, and people began to doubt. So I think Maryland, I think Tua Tagovailoa scrambles. He just makes it super difficult for Ohio State. They keep it close all game, maybe trailing for a little while. And then they one big play and they're right back in the lead. Maryland gets it done here. Marco.
Yeah, well, the difference between Notre Dame and Maryland is Notre Dame, although Sam Hartman is an elite QB, they just try to run the ball all over Ohio State, and Ohio State proved their run defense is good. The thing is, Maryland does not run the ball very much. They do have a good running back in Hemby, and they can run it, but Tua Tagovailoa is the leading passer in the Big Ten. This is probably going to be the offense that tries to beat Ohio State with a pass the most that they're going to play this year. I think Talia dominates. I do think that this is going to be a very, very close game. I just don't think Maryland's defense quite has what it takes to slow down Ohio State. I think Ohio State, they'll get stopped a few times in the first 3 quarters. Maryland does start slow usually and then picks it up. So I think Ohio State jumps up a couple scores. Maryland by the end of the third quarter makes it close, but I think Ohio State pulls away late and wins this game by around 10 points. But I think Maryland definitely does scare Ohio State quite a bit here.
Yeah, definitely in for a good one on Saturday with that one. Moving on, number 20 Kentucky at number 1 Georgia. Marco, you can take this one first.
This is actually going to be my upset pick. I mean, it's the number 1 team in the country, so I assume that meets the qualifications for an upset pick. I'm 0-5 on the year, but I think Kentucky first of all, Kentucky, they dominate the line of scrimmage, and Georgia just doesn't. They get dominated this year at the line of scrimmage. I mean, I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think Ray Davis, the Kentucky running back, has an absolutely dominant performance. I mean, he's been just insane this year. He has 76 carries for 600 yards and 8 touchdowns with 7.8 yards per carry. Georgia has not been good against the run. They have not been good at running the football. Kentucky is one of the best run defenses in college football. I think Kentucky really shortens this game with lots of runs. They can pass when they have to because they have Devin Leary, the NC State transfer. And I think they just come into Sanford Stadium and absolutely shock the dogs.
I actually agree that this is going to be a very close game. I was talking earlier about how good of a team Kentucky is, and I absolutely believe that. I just think Georgia out-talents them and gets the job done on this one. Moving on, number 10, Notre Dame at number 25, Louisville. Give me Notre Dame in this one. I think they run the ball pretty well in this one, and Louisville just really has a hard time stopping that offense and Sam Hartman, so I got Notre Dame. Marco?
Yeah, Louisville's been barely beating too many opponents. They barely beat Indiana, who sucks. Notre Dame dominates the line of scrimmage and comfortably beats Louisville.
Yep, and then next up we have number 23, LSU at number 21, Missouri. Missouri finally moving into the rankings after their 5-0 start. Very impressive for them. But unfortunately, they will be handed their first loss of the year in this one. I just think LSU's offense is too explosive, and although they can't get a stop to save their life, they get their job done here. Margo?
Yeah, this game definitely in the hands of Jaden Daniels, and I think LSU is going to win this game simply because the matchup favors them. Missouri is the best run defense in college football, but they just cannot defend the pass that well, and Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback in all of college football. LSU just won't really be running that much because they don't have to. However, I think Brady Cook will cook in this game. As you said, he will a couple weeks ago. I think this is a crazy high-scoring game like LSU's last game. And I think there's a chance Missouri's storming the field by the end of this, but give me LSU 45-41 here.
Yeah, but if Missouri is able to pull off a win here, I mean, a 6-0 start, they are looking pretty legit, if you ask me. Moving on, number 13, Wazoo at UCLA. Dante Moore looking to prove himself once again after that week 4 loss at Utah. Definitely a tough game for him there, but I think he does prove himself this week. In all of the other games, he's looked very good, and although he's facing off against your dark horse Heisman player Cameron Ward, who, don't get me wrong, has looked incredible this season, I just think Dante Moore and that UCLA offense really dominate, and UCLA gets enough stops for the win. Margo?
Yeah, this game is really a bad matchup here for Wazoo because they're playing against a actually truly elite defense here in UCLA, and they have a pretty bad defense themselves with Wazoo. I think Dante Moore picks them apart, but I think Cam Moore, despite going up against one of the best defenses in all of college football, just gets it done. For me, Wazoo feels like the TCU from last year. They got an experienced quarterback, pretty weak defense, but they get necessary stops, a team that's going to play in a lot of close games and win a lot of close games. I think this is one of those games similar to TCU last year where they just somehow find a way to get it done and barely win this game here at UCLA.
Yep, and then moving on, Arizona at number 9 USC. This is really USC's last chance to get ready before they play the most ridiculous stretch of games in college football. After this week, they have number 10 Notre Dame, number 18 Utah. They get a break at Cal, and then they play number 7 Washington and number 8 Oregon. So an absolutely ridiculous schedule coming up. This is their last chance to really tighten up, get ready to go. I think USC gets it done here. They score like 60 points or something. Arizona's offense puts up probably like 40, 48 in another disappointing performance for USC's defense. But yeah, USC gets it done. Margo?
Yeah, I think it comes down to whether Jaden Delore is healthy or not, Arizona's quarterback. He's actually a very, very good quarterback when he's healthy. I would say he's one of the top Pac-12 quarterbacks, passed for over 3,000 yards last year. If he's healthy, I think this could turn into somewhat of a shootout. This Arizona team actually does defend the run very well, so it's going to be in Caleb Williams' hands pretty much all game. But give me USC here. I'm going to say 48-37. I think another performance where they don't really convince anyone that they're elite, but they don't really come that close to losing. Just give me USC here in a kind of close shootout.
Yeah, definitely. Going to be pretty high scoring in that one. And then finally, number 11 Bama at Texas A&M. Alabama only favored by 1 in this one. Texas A&M 4-1, Alabama 4-1. Honestly, a very intriguing matchup. But I am going to take Alabama. Just because they're coming off a really good win against Mississippi State when they haven't really looked great all season. Just 40-17, a pretty dominant performance with 3 interceptions on Will Rogers, who usually plays good against Alabama, by the way. But yeah, Alabama gets it done here. I think they're starting to get going a little bit. I think they're kind of finding their way with Jalen Milroe on the ground. Like, he's been taking a lot more carries, sort of like a Jalen Hurts role back when he was at Alabama. And if he gets going in the passing game, Alabama could definitely be on their way back up. Margo?
Yeah, well, this Texas A&M defense is very, very good. They do not allow much passing game, which Alabama will not try to do, but they average allowing less than 100 rushing yards a game. which I mean is pretty good. So I think Bama will struggle on the ground. I think the only reason why Bama wins this game is because Texas A&M decided to make it a 3:30 game rather than a night game. I think it'll be that close that the environment makes a difference. Although it's still a tough place to play, and it's Bama, so they'll show out. I just think that night game kind of adds another element to it. I think this is a scary close game, like Bama has played back-to-back years against Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M plays their hearts out, but give me Bama here, 27-24.
All right, you got anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you all for listening to the Second Take podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace.